Happy Thursday. If you are watching the replay, thank you so much for tuning in to the next installment of Coach Continuing Education here at the Power Collective. As a reminder, this series has been going on all month long, so if you've missed it, check out the replays. There is a series playlist on both my YouTube channel and on my Instagram feed if you want to get caught up. But the goal of Coach Continuing Education Month is to help online coaches and course creators with growing, scaling, and maximizing their practices. So yesterday we talked about raising your rates, what's required of you from a service level and integrity level when doing that. And today we're continuing that conversation by talking about costly and common myths associated with managing group coaching programs. And I wanted to bring this up because, again, whenever we're thinking about that next level of our coaching career, how do we continue to grow and advance and increase our revenue? The immediate thought for many coaches is pivot to a group program. And that's common, that's normal, nothing wrong with that. But if you are choosing that path, it's important to know that one, that's not the only path. It's the most common path, but it's not the only path to scale your practice and see an increase in your revenue. But if you do, it's not as simple as just taking your current offer and just saying it's open for everybody now. So that's what I want to walk you through today. So if you are considering creating a group coaching program, or you have a group coaching program, or maybe you're doing some kind of hybrid course situation where there's a course and there's live calls, you definitely want to tune into this session. Let me quickly introduce myself as people are coming into the room. My name is Kashaira. I am a certified life business and success coach. I primarily work with high achieving women in the online course and coaching space to not only launch and grow their signature offers, but to diversify their revenue once they are ready to scale. And you can learn all about me at thepowercollective.co. And at the end of today's session, I am going to talk to you a little bit more about some of our one-on-one coaching opportunities, because I got so many questions in the DMs yesterday about our new Ascend program. So I want to give you a full walkthrough of that. All right, let me get my notes. So group coaching programs, right? We all seen them. We all know about them. They're very popular, and group coaching programs can be effective. This is by no means a group coaching program bashing session. If that's what you've expected, I'm sorry, that is not it. My goal is to save you from some of the common missteps I've seen, because personally, I am a product of group coaching programs. When it comes to business coaching, I've only ever been in group programs. The only private coaches I've had have been my life coach and like health and nutrition stuff. So full transparency, I'm a product of group coaching programs. I think they're phenomenal, but I've seen group programs run very well, and I've seen group programs ran poorly. One of the biggest mistakes I see with group coaching programs is making this assumption that you can simply take your one-on-one program and flip it into a group, and simply saying, instead of one-on-one, I'm going to take 5 to 10 at once, and it's going to run the same way. There are a lot of dynamics at play here that create a real separation between one-on-one and group, and that can cause a lot of disengagement for your clients and your students. And that's the last thing you want for your clients and students, to just up and walk out of your program, which has happened to people, y'all. So you want to avoid that. So when you're thinking about how to now take your one-on-one and curate it into a group, what does that look like? So here at the Power Collective, if you are a new coach, new course creator, we do recommend that you start off with the signature offer business model, where you are basically building out a framework, testing it in a one-on-one environment, and then taking it and flipping it into something scalable, like a group coaching program, a course, a very high-end one-on-one offer, because we have had clients who have only wanted to do one-on-one. So we've helped them to shape offers that are high 5 figures, turn it into a book, into an event series, whatever. There's so many different things you can do with this. Even turn it into a consulting offer, right? So the premise here, though, is that we build the framework. The thing is, a lot of one-on-one coaching experiences are straight up accountability sessions. They're Q&As, they're life check-ins, and there's never really any defined outcomes and objectives for the sessions or the program in itself. So it's very hard to flip that into a group and have defined outcomes if there weren't any outcomes in the first place. So when you're thinking about a group program, the very first thing, I know y'all sick of me saying framework, but I'm gonna keep beating this into you because it's so important, right? So the definition of a framework, you know I love my definitions here. It's a basic structure underlying a system, concept, or text, right? So when we take that definition and we break it down into the coaching space or whatever niche you're in, is creating a basic structure that you and your clients will follow to get them from point A to point B. Point A being where they are now as defined by your target customer profile. Point B being the promised land, your program promise, your program objective. What are you telling them this program is going to help them do? Is it going to help them heal generational trauma? Will it help them release the baggage of their parenting experiences? Will it help them with launching a signature coaching program? Will it help them gain traction with TikToks? I'm just giving you examples of program promises, but that's what the framework looks like. And it's funny because when I was Googling the definition of framework in preparation for this live, I came across the definition of framework. Yes, this live will absolutely be saved. It will be on our playlist labeled Coach Continuing Education Month series. Thank you for asking. When I was Googling framework, the first definition that came up is actually in the term and came up in the context of web development and software development. So they use frameworks when coding. And I love the definition for this. So let me give it to you. In web development, the aim of frameworks is to provide a common structure so that developers don't have to redo it from scratch and can reuse the code provided. In this way, frameworks allow developers to cut out much of the work, save a lot of time, and speed up the development process. If that cannot be applied to coaching, like I don't know how else to wave a big "this is it" sign, right? That is the point of it in your program, going for both you and the client. So for you, it's going to save you a lot of energy and time in curating these coaching sessions because you have a structure to follow and you don't have to keep figuring it out per session each and every time. That's how you end up being a very drained coach, right? And you can continue to reuse your frameworks. What we teach in our programs is, if you are a brand new coach, to continue to adjust your frameworks as your clients go through your programs. And at some point you have this finite framework, right? But once you have that, it's a continuous reusing of that. And it's, especially in a group program, it's very easy for your clients to get off track, to get sidetracked, to get into side projects, and the frameworks is what helps to bring them back to center. So we always coach on our frameworks, not outside of our frameworks. But then the other piece, right? It allows the developers to cut out a lot of the work, save time, and speed up development. This is the only reason why people will pay for a high ticket program, one-on-one or group. The goal is for them to save time, cut out a lot of the work, and speed up the process. Now, obviously, if you come over here and you want a business coach, you know that there's work to be done, but the point is for you to not have to take the long way, for you to not have to go around the world and Google all of these things and ask all of these different Facebook groups how to do something. You have one singular person and a clear roadmap to follow. If someone's paying high ticket for your program and they get in there and there's no roadmap, there's nothing laid out, and they still have the same feelings that they did when they were sitting up here trying to Google and YouTube everything, that is not a good client experience. That's when people start to feel like they've been scammed, they've been tricked, they've made a wrong decision, right? So you need to spend the time in building these back end things out and then testing them prior to them pivoting to the group program experience. And along with the frameworks, you can take your frameworks and turn them into modules, right? Especially for my course people, if you are going to have some kind of virtual learning and online learning, when it comes to your modules, you really want to ask yourself, what are some of the tools and concepts that would need a further explanation that if I had it, it would help move this out, right? This will help you to also prepare for the possibilities of different conversations that will come up. The problem with most people in modules is that they build them out like these really weird webinars, and they typically are a lot of fluff. Like I was once in a hybrid course program where all of the modules were like an hour long, but 40 minutes of it was a bunch of testimonials and case studies about how something worked for somebody, but it was never the how it worked for them. It was almost like a traditional webinar where the point of a webinar is to get your audience to buy in to you and your systems and your frameworks. And it's like, well, at this point, I've given you my money. I don't need convincing. Put the mindset stuff somewhere else. I just want the content. And so when you feel like you've invested so much money, you don't want to feel like you've wasted your time and you're sitting in school watching a bunch of fluff pieces. So when you are creating your modules, you want to ensure that it's content your clients actually need, and it's going to be things that supplement the learning, right? So something for you to consider. That goes into the second common and costly mistake when it comes to group programs, which is running your group program like a series of webinars. Now, this is a fine line to navigate, because if you're in the early stages of your group program, you may be doing your trainings live, depending upon what kind of coaching program you have. If this is very common in business coaching, if it's a live group, you may sit and listen to a training. However, webinars, if we go back to a traditional webinar, is typically very like informal, where the participants really can't see you, you can't see them, everything's through a chat box, and when you're done, you're done. Versus when you're doing this in a group program, you really want to make this interactive, right? Like if you are going to train live, and for the first 6 cohorts of the founder circle, we trained live each and every time. You really want to ensure that you're continuously embedding coaching into that, because at that point you should have just sold a course series versus a group coaching program. So starting off with openers and check-ins with your clients, wrapping up with how your clients are feeling, getting a reflection, getting action items, giving them permission to stop and ask questions along the way. Because if someone gets confused 10 minutes in, but they have to wait an hour later to ask you a question, that doesn't create a really good learning environment or an intimate learning environment, right? So if you are like, well, I want the recording to be clean, then you need to just pre-record it. And I've done that. I've re-recorded a lot of my content to make it easier for my clients to digest, because there's no reason for them to watch an hour-long video when the training itself was probably only 25 minutes and the rest of that was conversation. And I prefer, if I am going to keep the conversation because it was good, I'll just put it separate. That's what a strong learning experience and learning environment looks like. And I talked about that yesterday. You want to command high-end prices. You want to sell $5, $10, $15, $20,000 programs, but you don't want to show up like that type of coach who commands that, meaning investing in quality materials. That means taking another hour out of your day to re-record a training so that it's polished and it's smooth and it's good, right? So when you are running it live, do not forget about those interactive points. And we actually teach a lot of coaching techniques in all of our coaching programs, because it's not as simple as just saying, hey, how are you guys doing? Hey, what are you working on? There's other things you want to bring to the table to foster that environment, to foster sharing, foster connection, right? Helping your clients also get grounded. So one thing that we do in our program, and I always tell my clients, if you're uncomfortable, hop off, but everyone always stays on, is we will every now and then just pause and have a group meditation, and I will lead the group into some kind of meditation. I'm really good off the top of my head sometimes. And then we'll have a moment of just release and reflection and holding space. And that's also part of why you need to have these check-ins, because if you are a really in tune and connected coach, you can pick up on the energy of your folks, and you can know when is it time to just pause and stop. This the same way you do with one-on-one. And I think with some groups, it becomes so big and so like you become so out of touch, it's hard to curate that. And that's where you get programs where now you got clicks, and now you have mean girls, and now you have side stuff, and now you have people who feel neglected, and people who are now dropping out, and people who are now, it's just a whole, y'all, I've seen it all. So you just want to make sure that you're still being grounded. And if you do have a larger program where you have 50, 60, 70, 100 clients, this is where you really want to tap into your program coaches and your teams to start to be more involved. If you have program coaches, I would challenge you to make their role a little bit more dynamic, besides them simply managing your Facebook group, but getting them more involved, assigning them dedicated groups of clients, having them more engaged in your Zoom coaching sessions or wherever you have them. Really relying on them to help you understand what's going on, because at the end of the day, even though you have program coaches, that is still your program, it's still your company. And yes, as a scaled coach, everybody's goal, not everybody, but a lot of people want to be so hands off that they don't realize that they could actually be the reason why their company falls, because they've started to separate too much, right? So something for you to consider there, right? So some of the things you should be talking to your clients about on your group calls, what successes have you had? Talk about lessons learned. What new insights have you gained? What do you want to leave today's call with? We're doing a training on X. What do you want to leave with? How has this shown up for you? Stopping at certain points to just, again, ask these questions so that you can create more of a dynamic learning environment. And I keep saying dynamic learning environment on purpose because if you are coaching and training, because if you are teaching like this on a call, you are training, because coaching isn't training. Those are two different things. If you are going to be training, if you're going to have content, if you're going to have modules, then you need to be aware of learning styles. Everybody isn't an auditory learner. So you need to be prepared for that. You need to be okay with having to now go deeper into illustrations and providing transcripts and providing visual aids. And I'm just, again, telling the truth. You want to be a 20K, 30K, 40K coach, you need to show up like that. Being aware of different learning disabilities that may come up. How are you managing clients that may have ADHD and things like that? No, I'm not saying go be a doctor, but I'm just saying there are extra steps we can take to ensure we're curating safe spaces for our people. Third common and costly mistake. By the way, if this is adding value for you, please let me know in the comments. If you have questions, let me know in the comments. Shout out to Tony on LinkedIn. Hey, girl. And I'm trying to see if I missed anybody. Okay, no, I didn't miss anybody on Instagram. Okay, perfect. So, common mistake number 3, every session is literally the same, like the exact same way. I've definitely have heard some interesting stories about coaching sessions being just homework share sessions and no coaching happens, or just being, manifestation mindset calls where you're just being told you're the problem and that's just it. And there's just so many different weird things where that's like, just not only is that just bad by itself, but then it's always like that where people feel like there's no point in even coming. So you want to start to change it up, right? Change up the flow of your coaching sessions and make it more of a series of conversations. And so some things that we do in one of my group programs is we will interrupt our normal flow of Q&A by having things like breakout sessions, hot seat sessions, laser coaching sessions, mini mastermind sessions, quarterly planning, annual planning. And these are things that, even though these are exclusive to the founder circle, even our one-on-one clients in Ascend and the Coaches League are invited to some of those trainings as well, so that everyone can benefit from that group strategic thinking. So when you think about how that could work for your group program, again, if you have a larger group, you really want to play with this. Larger group discussions, paired discussions, breakout rooms of 3 to 4, masterminds, maybe even having some kind of optional session around helping people find accountability partners in your program, hosting your own little speed dating situation, integrating more body-centered coaching and other styles of coaching. I mentioned we do live meditation sessions. We've done live visualization sessions. We even have in our portals an optional emotional freedom technique section. That's one of the certifications I have, but we have that built in as just an optional thing within our program to spice things up. Even using little tools like polls, if you have a larger program, polls and whiteboarding, but just things to switch things up so that it doesn't feel super monotonous, because when it gets that monotonous, it can get very boring and the person can feel like they're not getting anything from it. And if we feel like we're not getting anything from it, even though we pay for it, we're not going to spend our time there. We're not going to continue to show up, which gets me to this next point. When you have a group program, please don't show favoritism to your clients. Now, we all know we have our clients who we love and really connect with, and we have the ones that we don't connect with so much. And some of you have problem clients, right? But when you run a group program, you cannot be catty, and you need to have a self-awareness check. If you the kind of woman that when you don't like somebody they know, I don't know I think you need to be more picky about who you're letting into your program. Right? Like, just tell the truth. Like, if your face show it all, your attitude show it all, because you don't want to curate an environment where people feel left out. They feel singled out. They feel like you've given up on them. They feel like you only champion the people who are winning and those with results. And yes, you should champion your clients who are making moves, champion your clients who are winning. but also lift up those that are struggling, right? Because the clients that are winning are showing everyone else that yes, it's possible, you can do this. But those that are struggling at the same time need to be poured into. They need a little extra oomph, right? I'm not saying handhold, I'm not saying become a therapist, but I am saying if you begin to make your clients feel like you don't give up, I'm trying not to cuss on live, y'all. I'm trying. Make sure y'all pray for me on that. If you don't, if they feel like you don't care, that's going to cause so much resentment. Because the truth of the matter is, you can have clients who are not yet getting to results because they're moving a little bit slower, they need a little bit more help, who will still love their coaching experience and will renew with you at the end of their contract. They will rejoin, they will upgrade to one-on-one, whatever. And if that, because they enjoyed their experience with you, they really vibe with you, they really trust you. But if you alienate them, they're never coming back. And it is harder to get a brand new stranger client off the street than it is to get somebody who is already in your community to just stick around. So you are costing yourself money. What are your retention rates, your re-enrollment rates when it comes to your group and your one-on-one? And this is why, even for me, even people who have been problematic clients who haven't been the nicest, I always treat people with respect, because I know that a lot of times it has something to do with me anyway. And at some point they may want to re-engage. And as long as they didn't treat me real crazy, okay, I get it. Come on back. I can coach you through that, right? I've literally once had a client who she wasn't mean to me, but she just really pushed back on a lot of stuff that was happening in her program. And at the end, she's like, don't think this is for me. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's keep working together. We'll work through it. And honestly, she just wanted the life coaching aspect. And once I coached her through a couple of different life coaching things she needed, the business stuff just flowed. When I tell you, this lady flew through the curriculum that she said she didn't even want to read, she didn't even want to watch, she didn't want to go through. It was like insane. And I'm not saying you need to do all of that. I just happen to be that kind of coach that I like to help clients like unblock what's going on. But long story short, had I started to dismiss her in the group whenever she had a certain type of comment, if I started to be mean to her or ignore her, then we wouldn't have even been able to have that result and have her continue to be a supporter to this day. So don't play favorites in your groups. Don't do that. Like, if you don't like them from the start, don't let them in your program. Don't just take anybody's money. When you're a coach, you have such a high level of responsibility. You don't even understand the impact you can have on someone's life in both a positive and a negative way. So I'm just going to urge you, please don't do that. All right. Going into the last piece, and this follows up with point number 3 very well. The fourth common mistake is not curating your group and not curating your staff, aka training your staff. So when you have a group program, you have to protect the vibe. That's how I describe it, right? So if you have a group program, but you're no longer the person doing sales calls for enrollment, you need to train your people on what to look for and what are red flags, because one bad apple can ruin it for everybody, right? And we probably can all think of a situation, even in a workplace, where there was one toxic Tammy who just made the whole place just feel unsafe. And in a group program, you want to be very cautious of that. So you need to have certain qualifiers that you honor and certain red flags. And the other thing with that is, it's not always red flags in like this personality trait way. It could be that you're not honoring the qualifiers for the program. If you're promising a program that is advanced level and this and that, but you're allowing in beginners who happen to have the money to pay for it, you are not curating that group correctly. And I've literally once been in a program that was advertised high-end mastermind, high-level conversation, and then it became whoever can afford it can be in it. And people who are really at that advanced level began to get disengaged because all of the conversations were centering around super entry level stuff, right? So that's another example of you're not curating a group. Now one group is disengaged and the other group is just all over the place, right? And then when it comes to your staff, if you are going to have community support managers, program coaches, team coaches, client success managers, you need to heavily vet and heavily train your staff. You have to ensure that your staff is best representing you and your company. And when people feel like your staff, especially program coaches, that they aren't knowledgeable, they aren't helpful, they're talking in circles, that can make your clients not even want to ask questions anymore. And that's literally part of the coaching experience. And it can create a negative experience. And people need to understand that when we're buying into a program, if we're buying a coaching program, we're not just buying a bunch of videos and workbooks. We could have got a course that was half the price of what yours is to get that. We're paying for coaching. So when you are engaging with program coaches, you expect the same level of service you would get from the person who initially sold you the program. So you're going to need to invest a lot of time and energy in not only training your staff, but managing your staff, not just letting them go and just hoping for the best afterwards. Actively, consistently seeking feedback from your community on how that staff is doing so that you can continue to train them. Because if you've ever managed people, management is not a one and done process. This is a continuous performance management situation, like time and time again. You can't just let people go rogue. And another thing that is so important, if you do have the kind of program that is really large and scaled up where you aren't as involved, be straightforward with that. Don't sell us this dream of having all of this access to you and being able to talk to you and get questions answered when you know good and well after this sales call, we're never going to see you again. Like, don't do that. Be very forthcoming, because again, that creates a negative experience. Instead, say, hey, this program is primarily led by our team of coaches. I'm typically on, one call a month, and then our coaches do everything else, but our coaches are trained best in class, the X, Y, and Z. Our frameworks stand on their own. Like, you want to hype up the program instead of selling dreams, because again, the moment the client stops trusting you, it's a wrap. It is very, very hard to bring that back if they feel like you've lied or they feel like they've been misled. So these are all things, if you've noticed though, as we've gone through all of these things that people can, unfortunately commit crimes they can commit when they're creating group programs, they're all really avoidable with the proper planning, preparation, and strategy. These things happen when you rush prematurely into this without doing what's required to be there. So if you just came in, we're getting ready to wrap up. But again, the common mistakes: simply turning your one-on-one program into a group without doing any of the back end work, running your program like a series of webinars, every session being the same. There's no dynamic learning environment. You're not curating your group. You're not curating your staff. You're not training your staff. Again, these are all avoidable if you invest the time. You do not have to rush the process to pivot to a group program in order to see more money. There are other ways to make more money while you are setting your group program up correctly. By the way, if you have not downloaded the Profitable Coach Starter Guide, it's our latest free ebook. It is available in the link in my bio, and there are worksheets in that ebook to help you actually outline your coaching offer and pricing. So if you are working on a group coaching offer, that's a really great guide to grab. So with that, I do want to go ahead and pivot and talk to you a little bit more about the Ascend program, because as I mentioned yesterday, there were a ton of questions about that. So I wanted to get into it. So if you're watching me on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn, you'll be able to see my screen. Folks here on Instagram, you have to just follow me. And if you're interested in Ascend, the link is in my bio. It should be, but it's on my website. So Ascend, thepowercollective.co / Ascend. Let's talk through it. So Ascend is a very unique, fast-paced, action-packed program that is, in my opinion, not for beginners unless you know what you want and you got time to build it out, because it is very high-end. It is a 30-day one-on-one experience, and the goal is to start and finish a project. And the type of projects can vary, but let's just talk through it. So Ascend was created in my mind when I was thinking about the people who are kind of left out in the traditional coaching arena, meaning right now, what's popular in online coaching is 6 to 12 month coaching programs, contract, their group programs, and they're kind of like one size fits all, where the problem that they solve is very niche, but it's like this one singular way of doing something. And oftentimes that's not needed. Sometimes the type of help you need doesn't require 1 year. You may only need one chunk of a program, but then on the other end, there's coaches who offer like really intense VIP days, and those are amazing, but that may not feel like it's enough, right? It doesn't really move the needle. So this offer is for online coaches, consultants, and course creators who are tired of one size fits all, but they're ready to do the work to bring it together, bring a project to life that they've been working on, but can't really like figure out how to get it launched. So a couple of examples of projects we could do during this time: business model development, launch plans, go-to-market plans, revamping your sales strategy for existing offers, pivoting to digital products or consulting offers, funnels, hiring, training, systems, things like that. So it really depends on you. The program is curated based upon what you're trying to work on and what challenges you're facing in that. So how does it work over the 30 days? So immediately after our first consultation, you will get a new client form, and that's where you're going to tell me about what we're actually going to build. We're going to have a kickoff 2-hour VIP intensive where we're going to begin to outline all of those objectives, what's required, timing, any extra budget that you may need. And then from there, I'm going to tweak your new client form based on what came up in that session, things that you may not have been aware of, X, Y, and Z. And from there, but the rest of the time, we're going to actually bring this to life based on that. So it's going to include a curated curriculum. And that basically means if there are any trainings, guides, or templates that you're going to need to move faster along with this, I will pull it for you. So instead of going through a forced curriculum, it's going to be a curated curriculum. Then we're going to meet weekly for the remaining 3 weeks for 1 hour each. And in that time, we're going to continue with bringing this project to life. So let me give you an actual example, because I keep saying projects, but it really depends. So I mentioned yesterday, I'm working with a client on pivoting her one-on-one coaching offer to a consulting offer for schools. So in her kickoff session, we talked through everything. We started to build out the offer. In session 2, we finalized the offer, along with finalizing the market research we needed to do on the schools, as well as going through who her first points of marketing would be. In session 3, we built out her first major marketing initiative for getting these clients in. So let's talk through branding and some other Q1, Q2 things that she's going to be doing. And in her last session, which is coming up next week, we're going to talk about the progress she's made already with starting to pitch, as well as the remainder of her like B2B email outreach strategy and what that's going to look like. So that's an example of someone who's working through Ascend, came into the program with this idea of, I need a consulting offer and I want to learn how to sell it, and now ending the program literally with the offer, with the branding, with the marketing, and with the insight to move it forward. So that's what Ascend looks like, and that's why it's not for beginners, because in order for us to move quickly, number one, you need to know what you want. If you have no idea what you want or what you want to do or what you want it to look like, it's not going to make sense for you. 2, it's something that moves really fast. Again, we're together for a month and we're meeting every week for 30 days straight. You're going to need time, because in addition to us building stuff together on the calls, you need to be able to do the work in between the sessions. Like, it's almost like I'm your business partner at this point and I'm helping you push things along. But if you can't do any work in between sessions, it's not going to work. So if you know you don't have time, if you know you dragging your feet, if you know you're the type to procrastinate, and if you know that you really aren't serious about getting this thing done in a month, then this isn't for you. On the flip side, though, if you are very serious about getting something launched and done before the end of Q1, if you're very serious about getting targeted, curated, customized support, this is the best option for you. We do have other programs. You can learn about them at thepowercollective.co/work with me that are longer, way more structured. They tackle other things. But if you are looking for an in and out, curated, custom solution, Ascend is for you. We do have 2 spots for people who want to start within the next 2 weeks. So that will take you through almost the end of February. So if you are interested, you can book a consultation at thepowercollective.co/ascend. And if you have any quick questions, you're welcome to shoot me a DM. With that, I will be back bright and early tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, 10 a.m. Eastern, We're going to be talking about coaching techniques you can use with your clients in any niche. That session is really early because your girl is getting her booster shot tomorrow, later in the afternoon. So I'm trying to knock out as much as I can early in the morning. So if you are not up that early, you can catch the replay on any of my social media profiles. With that, thank you all so much for watching, and I will talk to you in the next session. Bye.